Welcome to the series of Ruptured Duck Podcasts, all about accessibility in the arts. Now, today I'm going to be talking with director Jordan Hogg. Jordan has worked on various TV series, including Shameless, where he started out, moving on to the likes of Hollyoaks, Coronation Street, Emmerdale, all of our favourites. So welcome, Jordan.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sophie. I really appreciate
That's
it.
great. It's lovely to meet you. So you've already worked on some of the big names in TV. So tell us how it all started. Where did you start, and what made you go into that world?
Well, a long time ago in a distant land. I've wanted to be a director since I was about 12.
Wow.
I can remember that my parents were getting divorced, and it was really real messy. And Lawrence of Arabia came on telly, and being 12, I can't remember if I understood it or knew what was going on or anything, because it's a bit of an epic. But David Lean just totally took me to the desert for like 3 hours. I totally forgot where I was. And I was like, this is like proper real magic. If I could do that for one person in my lifetime, I'd be a happy man. So, but I'm from Scarborough, which is about as far away from anything glitz and glamour, TV, film, and as you can imagine. So I did what any disabled kid does when they finish school. I became a fitness instructor. And I became quite good at it, and I did that for a while. And then I thought, why don't I do what I've always wanted to do? Why don't I be a director? So I went back to university. I couldn't really afford to go to uni, so I kept my full-time job at the same time in the gym. So I had to do all my uni work in the gym, and there was like people pulling the plug out my laptop and stuff, and being funny, and telling me I'll never make it and whatnot. And in my last year, I can remember my last year at uni, I can remember getting an email, and I still don't know to this day how they got my email address, because I'd only literally set it up the day before. But I got an email from a production company called Maverick Television, said they were looking for disabled filmmakers to take part in a new Channel 4 series called The Shooting Party, which was kind of like The Apprentice for directors, I suppose. And I got to the final of that. And then I went back to university to finish my dissertation, and I thought I'd be really clever. I'd do a subject that I hadn't really heard much on. So I wrote about the representation of disability in cinema.
Excellent. Yeah.
Me being clever and whatnot, I didn't realise that nobody had ever written anything on it ever before. So it was really difficult to write that, but I did observe that every Bond villain has a disability, and somehow their disability makes them stronger.
Yeah, I'm sure it's surprising as you go back and look how much you can find out there.
Absolutely, it's to do with when I delved into it, but it's to do with subconscious, like people, the things that people aren't familiar with or things that are different, people are generally frightened of, and it's always the villain that has a disability, which is very peculiar. But I went back to finish my dissertation, and while I was there, I got an email from Channel 4 saying, look, we absolutely love you on The Shooting Party. We'd like to offer you a job as an apprentice director on Shameless. So I literally drove from a graduation ceremony to start on Shameless the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, I was really
Kind of straight in. That's very much in at the deep end, isn't it?
yeah.
Obviously you've been.
Yeah, I mean, all I've done before is a couple of short films off my own back, and I used to do for like the attractions on the seafront in Scarborough. I used to do like little promo videos for them to play outside. I used to charge them 300 quid a pop, and then I used to do them. That's the only like TV and film experience I've had, doing a couple of shorts and doing that. And been thrown into like at the time was one of the biggest drama on British television, to basically learn how the industry worked. And I spent a year on Shameless. I ended up directing a few scenes for them, and then I went freelance after that. And I've been quite lucky to be busy. I mean, the quietest only time I've been out of work is when lockdown happened. So I've been quite lucky.
So Shameless, your very first piece of directing, just tell us about the first day. You know, it must have felt quite a big deal going on to set on Shameless, your first big opportunity of directing. Just tell us a little bit what that felt like.
It was really cool. They were kind enough to hide my own office, which was really cool. I remember sat there one day, I was setting my stuff up, and Frank Gallagher walked into my office with a cup of coffee and just sat opposite me. I thought, this isn't happening. This is my kind of dream stuff, and that was kind of day one. And basically, all I was doing was spending my time on set and watching people and learning my craft and things and stuff, and studying what people did and learning about methods of directing and all kinds of things like that, really. So it was really good experience.
And obviously, you've got quite a positive experience there, and you seem to go fairly easily into the industry. Were there any challenges for you at any point as somebody with a disability? You're quite open about that.
Um, no, not really. I've always found that our industry, I always say it's the greatest industry in the world, and I always find that people are more than willing to go further to help me with any needs I have. And productions have always looked after me like that. I've never seen it as an obstacle, and now I kind of use it. My disability's caused me enough pain throughout my life, problems and things, and I kind of use it as kind of a plus point now, because in the industry I've got a unique perspective on the world that a lot of other directors and people don't have, having a disability. So I kind of use it as a plus point, really, and take the positives from it.
Yeah. So you've worked on the likes of Hollyoaks. I think you spent 3 years on Hollyoaks, which was quite a long stint.
Yeah.
You've also worked on Corrie, Emmerdale. Out of those bigger names that a lot of us watch, what would you say? Which was your favourite experience of working on those continuing drama series?
That's a tough question. Well, my favourite show I did wasn't a continuing drama. It was a show called Evermore, and it was for Disney, and it was kind of on my bucket list to do something for Disney.
Wow.
I'd always wanted to work for Disney, and they were amazing to work for. They were so good, and I loved that show. It was everything that I'd wanted. All the reason I wanted to direct was in that show. Out of the continuing dramas, probably my favourite to do is Emmerdale, because it's kind of the locations are kind of like it is an actual village in the grounds of her
Yeah.
house. It's beautiful. You're driving into work and there's deers crossing the road, and whenever I shoot in the village, I always try and shoot it like a western. I always have these big wide vistas that I like to do, and the sun's low in the sky. And I've got some pictures on I can send you them on my Instagram profile of shots I did that made Emmerdale look like a western. And the people there are just lovely. It's a lovely place to work. But yeah, I think Emmerdale's by far my favourite.
Yeah, extraordinary, like you said, extraordinary views and vistas that you've got to work with on Emmerdale when you're in the village, as it were. Obviously, you work with casting directors. What sort of relationship do you have with casting directors? Have you cast many disabled people through them? And how do you feel those kind of relationships work? And are things changing in that way? Do you think casting directors are becoming more open to casting disabled people?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, it depends what show I'm working on. I started off the last season of Ackley Bridge, season 4. I totally recast that from scratch. So I had a totally new cast, and a new format and everything. And like with Death in Paradise, I did that at the end of last year. I had to cast the full episode of that, so that was a lot of input. But with shows like Casualty, I did a episode about 2 years ago, and the character in it had Asperger's. So I absolutely insisted that we cast an actor who had Asperger's. We put in the right things that the actor needed and whatnot. But it was a bit of a search to find the right actor out there, because there's not many actors with Asperger's about. And they had to fit a very small niche what we needed in the character.
Yeah.
But the producer I worked with is a really cool guy who's got a disability as well, called Daff Llewellyn. He's one of my best friends. But yeah, we worked on that together. So there was like a disabled director, disabled producer, and a disabled character in it, which was quite cool.
Yeah. You make an interesting point of you had to go the extra mile to find an actor with Asperger's. How difficult do you think directors find it, or casting directors are finding it to find the disabled people? And do you think having to go that extra mile is something that directors and casting directors need to do more of to push things forward?
Yeah, I think maybe about 5-6 years ago, I don't think there was that many disabled actors about that I'd worked with personally. But I think now, things are starting to turn around a little bit. I mean, there's the DANC, the Disabled Artists Networking Community, I think. They do a lot of good stuff. They've got a lot of fantastic disabled artists working with them. I mean, we were speaking before, I think we came on air, about Ross Grant, who's visually impaired heavily, and there's a fantastic young actor called Steph Lacey, who's just done a new Netflix show, and she's gonna be massive. And yeah, and there's like Ruth Madeley, who's really making waves.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
actors. So yeah, I think now a few years ago the term "cripping up" appeared, and I think that's kind of that's a good thing that people are realizing we can't crip up people anymore. And there is
yeah.
actors out there that just need to be found, really. But I think things are definitely going in the right direction to help the disabled community.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're gradually seeing more disabled people cast in a kind of non-disabled role, as it were. I think previously it was about disabled people playing a specific disabled role because it was about the disability. And I think it feels like the industry is changing a little bit in that way. I don't know what your experience is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely the way to go. I don't see why not. Why we can't have disabled actors playing non-disabled roles. It doesn't really make any difference, to be honest.
And how do you think we can continue to move forward in those kind of ways? Is it about directors being more bold? Is it about working more closely with casting directors, and the casting directors need to make bolder moves and say this isn't a disabled role, but this person would be great?
Exactly.
What helps it all move forward?
Yeah, so I was saying there's nothing really. I can't see why you can why you can't cast a disabled actor in a non. There's a non. I'm saying. I don't see any reason why we can't cast a disabled actor in a non-disabled role. I mean, it's part of life. We're everywhere. We're all over the world. It doesn't really make any difference.
And writers, do you think writers can have a role in that as well, in moving things forward?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it obviously depends on what type of show you're working on. If it's continuing drama, maybe not. But if it's something like a standalone series, I think the writer has a lot of influence in who we cast, and 9 times out of 10, the writer and executive producer as well, who has a lot of clout in who we cast and has a good say in it. So yeah, I think now people's perceptions are shifting more. I think it's more of a good thing and becoming rapidly more inclusive.
Yeah, obviously this last year has been really difficult because of COVID. What has been your experience of the last year, and are there any positives you think we can take from it that will take moving forward? It's obviously changed things in terms of auditions. We're doing virtual auditions. People are doing more self tapes. Is that something that you think will be taken forward as a positive, or will we go back to auditioning in the room all the time?
Well, the last year has been great for me. I was 7 days in shooting Acclaimed season 4 when the shit hit the fan, and the world went to hell. Then while we're in lockdown, I got offered one of the first blocks of Emmerdale back. So I was like, I'll work for 2 months. I mean, them 2 months were a bit worrying because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
None of us did. We didn't know what was going to happen to the industry at all, if it would get going again. But I was lucky enough to do Emmerdale. And then while I was waiting for Ackley Bridge to step back up, I got a phone call offering me Death in Paradise in Guadeloupe, which was, I say it should be called Death in the Seventh Circle of Hell, because I absolutely hated it. But yeah, I went to do that, and
I have to ask, Death in Paradise, it's like everyone would think, oh, how awful it must be to work on Death in Paradise in that beautiful location. And what's the real deal with Death in Paradise? How awful or wonderful is it working there?
The place is an absolute shithole. I would never ever go there again. I'm a Yorkshireman. I feel like I can put up with quite a lot of stuff, and I'm not a prima donna or anything, but trying to shoot in 12-hour, 13-hour days in 40-degree heat with no aircon anywhere is very, very difficult. There's no like infrastructure anywhere. There's no like roads. There's no internet. Dengue fever was rife. I think 15 crew members went down with dengue. There was like for lunch one day we got like the like tin takeaway tins. We got them for lunch and it was just full of Brussels sprouts with two chicken nuggets in it. And it's not like a traditional Caribbean island. It's got this very strange French influence to it. There's nothing traditional Caribbean about it. It's like basically having a really poor France in the middle of nowhere. It's really, really strange place.
Thanks for exploding some of those myths. I want to be in Death in Paradise.
Yeah, they were really keen for me to go back this year, and I said to them, no, there's no way in hell you can ever get me back on that island.
We'll soon be wrapping this up. We're running out of time, but I would like to ask you about relationships on set, as in between cast and crew, and when you are working with disabled people. How do you think that all does it change any dynamics when you're working with disabled actors?
No, not in the slightest. Not for me personally, anyway. If I'm working with a disabled artist, I'll have a good idea. I'll have a chat with them to find what their needs are and what I can do to make it more comfortable for them in the environment. But no, I'll expect a good degree of how can I put it? I'll accommodate whatever needs they have, whatever they need, really, because I've got belief in their ability to do it. So, I believe it's up to me to make sure they're as I would with any actor, whether they're disabled or not, to make sure they're comfortable in the environment. They're happy.
And do you think that works across the other cast members? Do you find that non-disabled cast work well when they have somebody with a disability on set, or do some of those relationships and dynamics change, or does it work just as well as any other set?
I don't believe so. I've never come across that. I think the people I choose to work with are all very inclusive people, and they know how the industry works. And I always work with the good, kind, nice people. Really, I've never come across any issue at all. Nobody's ever come and said they've been treated unfairly or anything like that. We've always worked. When I'm directing the floor, I like to evoke like a team spirit. We're all in it together. I'm maybe the captain of the team, but we're still a team.
Yeah.
And I want everybody's input and everyone to work together as one, really. And that's fairly in that environment.
What would you say is the moment or the piece of work that you're most proud of to date? I'm sure there'll be many others in future.
Well, I think I did. I've got some exciting stuff coming up, which I'm really excited, which will be head and shoulders above things. But I think at the moment it's got to be the finale of Acclaimed season 3. That's kind of got me noticed. That got me US management and representation. Yeah, that's kind of the one I'm proud of up to now, anyway.
Yeah, Ackley Bridge is right up there with lots of things, especially amongst young people.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
are loving it out there at the moment. So
Yeah, especially the new format. I think we've aimed it to the younger audience, really.
that's absolutely brilliant. Um, what do you think now coming out of COVID? What can we look forward to in terms of um, moving forward, and in terms of representation on screen? That's what you studied back in the day and got you into this industry. What do you think we can look forward to post COVID?
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine when all lockdown happened, and we were chatting, and said the only kind of industry that boomed during the Great Depression was our industry. People need us to keep them going, essentially, when they're locked in their homes, like we have been. They needed us more than ever, and I think now we've everything seems to have exploded all at once. Like I got in January, I got 5 job offers all at
Wow.
once, and things like that. Everything just like happened, exploded, and I think now, I think things in America are starting to just wake up a bit now. Things are starting to, the last few weeks, things have started to happen there. So I think over the next year or so, I think it's going to be a very, very, almost like I think I'm predicting another golden era
Yeah,
for our industry, really.
it's sounding really, really positive, and that's great to hear. And if somebody came to you wanting a bit of advice um, to go into the industry, whether it's in front of the camera or directing behind the camera, what would your advice be to them if they have a disability?
Well, I've always said that if you want something, you can have whatever you want. There's
Yeah,
nothing stopping you doing whatever you want. The only thing in your way is yourself. And I think now, even more to now than when I started, like 12 13 years ago. I'm getting old now. I think there's a lot more opportunities out there for disabled people to get what they want. People are more understanding of inclusivity and diversity and things. And I think you've got a better chance than anybody, really, now to get where you want to be. I think you can't rely on your talent alone. I think it's 10% talent, 90% hard work. And I
yeah.
think if you put in the time, put in the graft, put in the legwork, you can get there. You've just got to know what you want and be laser focused at going for it.
Yeah, well, you are certainly making waves. You're moving in the most positive direction, and that is great to hear. I wish you well with everything that you've got coming up, which unfortunately I know you can't talk about, and yeah, I really want to know.
I'm sure
But
we have
we
lots.
will look out for whatever you're directing, I'm sure. And it's been great chatting to you, Jordan.
You too.
And it's sounding from your perspective, and I think we're all looking forward to post COVID and things opening up more. And it's as you say, the industry is looking good.
Yeah,
Even through the pandemic, it's surviving and doing really well. So let's hope things continue to move in that direction, and
exactly.
especially for disabled people that want to move into it. Um, yeah, I think definitely it's all sounding positive,
Yeah, we're
which
getting
is
there.
which is great.
We just need to get everyone vaccinated, and we'll be back at it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jordan. It's been great chatting to you.
You too.
If anyone wants to know more about Jordan, you have a website, don't you?
I do. Yeah, it's just jordanhogg.com.
Yeah, so look Jordan up. He's very busy at the moment, but we'll hear more of Jordan, I'm sure. And good luck with everything, Jordan. Thank
Cool,
you very
thank you very
much.
much. Good luck with the podcast.